Are you truly a good person? Or, do you think you are? You see, most people believe goodness is about words, about saying the right things, appearing kind, seeking approval. However, according to Stoicism, being good is not about how you present yourself. It's about how you act, especially when no one is watching. It's not about how you feel in the moment. It's about the principles you live by. The decisions you make under pressure. The discipline you maintain even when it's difficult. And here's the truth, most people fail at this. They think they are virtuous, but when tested, when confronted with difficulty, with injustice, with the temptation of comfort over character, they falter. That's why the Stoics had 6 key indicators that separate those who only believe they are good, from those who actually are. And I'll tell you this, most people fail at indicator number 5. Make sure you don't. Stay with me. What does it truly mean to be a good person? Is it about being polite? About following the rules? About making people like you? To the Stoics, goodness was not a matter of perception. It was not about external appearances, empty gestures, or the approval of others. No. Goodness was about virtue. About living with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, no matter the circumstances. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at his time, Roman emperor, and ruler of an empire stretching across continents. He could have lived in luxury, indulging in excess, wielding absolute power without restraint. But he didn't. Instead, he wrote to himself, reminding himself daily to be humble, to act with integrity, to resist anger and pride, to rule not as a tyrant but as a servant to the people. And yet, no statues were built in his honor for this. No great rewards were given for his self-discipline. Why? Because true virtue does not seek applause. It is done for its own sake. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, said, "A good character, once established, is not shaken by adversity, nor corrupted by success." This is the Stoics' definition of goodness. Not comfort. Not reputation. Not fleeting kindness. But an unshakable commitment to virtue, whether the world rewards you for it or not. This is the standard. The question is, do you meet it? Indicator 1, you control your reactions. The first sign of a truly good person. They don't let emotions control them. Imagine this. You're walking down the street, minding your own business, when someone shouts an insult at you. Maybe they mock your appearance, your intelligence, or something deeply personal. At that moment, what do? Do you lash out, and fire back with an insult of your own? Do you feel your blood boil, your heart race, your mind fill with thoughts of revenge? Or do you pause? Do you recognize that this insult, this external event, has no real power over you unless you give it power? This is where the Stoics draw the line between the ordinary and the truly virtuous. Epictetus, the great Stoic teacher, made this clear: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You don't control events. You don't control other people. You don't control the insults, the injustices, or the unfairness of life. But you do control your reaction. And that is where true strength lies. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor burdened with constant wars, betrayals, and the weight of ruling an empire, wrote to himself in Meditations. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. In other words, the insult, the betrayal, the inconvenience, it only has power if you let it. So how do you master this? How do you train yourself to remain unshaken in the face of insult, anger, or frustration? Try this simple Stoic exercise. The next time someone says something that irritates you, pause. Before you react, take a breath. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Will my reaction change the reality of the situation? Then, let it go. A good person, a truly virtuous person, does not allow themselves to be ruled by anger, by offense, by every passing emotion. They rule themselves. And that is the first indicator. Indicator 2, you prioritize justice over popularity. Being good isn't about being liked. It's about doing what's right. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you stayed silent when you should have spoken up? How many times have you looked the other way because it was easier than confronting the truth? How often do we choose comfort over justice? Imagine this. A leader stands before a crowd, facing immense pressure. Their advisors tell them to take the easy path, to say what people want to hear, to avoid controversy. The crowd cheers for a decision they know, deep down, is wrong. At that moment, the leader has a choice. Do they stand for justice, knowing it might cost them? Or do they surrender to popularity, betraying their values for approval? Throughout history, truly great individuals, those who lived with virtue, chose justice, even when it made them unpopular. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at the time, did not rule to be loved. He ruled to be just. He wrote to himself, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple. Unshakable. Yet so difficult to follow. Now ask yourself. When was the last time you chose comfort over justice? When was the last time you let something slide because standing up for what was right felt too risky, too inconvenient? A truly good person does not live for approval. They do not bend their morals for popularity. They act with integrity, regardless of how the world responds. Because virtue is its reward. And that is the second indicator. Indicator 3, you practice humility and self-awareness. The moment you think you've figured everything out is the moment you've stopped growing. Ego is a silent killer. It whispers, "You already know enough. You don't need to question yourself. You don't need to listen." And that's when wisdom dies. History is filled with people who let their pride destroy them. Take a leader, a businessman, a warrior, someone at the peak of their power. They ignore the advice. They dismiss warnings. They believe they are untouchable. Then, disaster strikes. Their business collapses. Their empire crumbles. Their reputation shatters. And they never saw it coming, because they refused to listen, to learn, to question themselves. The Stoics warned against this. Seneca wrote, "You cannot learn that which you think you already know." Humility is not weakness. It is strength. It takes wisdom to say, "I might be wrong." It takes courage to seek truth over ego. And it takes discipline to remain a student, no matter how much you know. So how do you practice humility and self-awareness? Try this. At the end of each day, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What did I do well today? 2. Where did I let my ego get in the way? 3. What can I learn from this? Write your answers down. Be brutally honest with yourself. The more you question your own thoughts and actions, the wiser you become. A truly good person doesn't pretend to have all the answers. They seek them. They remain a student. They practice humility. And that is the third indicator. Indicator 4, you help others without expecting anything in return. Do you help people, or do you just want to look good? It's a tough question, isn't it? The difference between genuine kindness and the kind of generosity that expects applause. The Stoics believed in helping others, but not for recognition. Not for praise. Not for the warm feeling you get when people see how kind you are. No. They believed in helping because it was the right thing to do. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, often reminded himself to serve others as part of his daily practice. He didn't give to gain followers or to win favor. He gave because he understood that true virtue lies in the act itself, not in the return. In today's world, it's easy to fall into the trap of virtue signaling, doing something good just to be seen as good. You post on social media about a charity you gave to, about the good deed you did, about your selflessness. But is that truly selfless? Or are you just serving your image? The Stoics would tell you that true goodness never seeks to be noticed. It acts in quiet humility. As Epictetus taught, if you wish to be rich, do not add to your money, but subtract from your desire. The same goes for your acts of kindness. You don't need to add to your reputation. You need to subtract from the need for recognition. Here's your challenge today: do one thing for someone else, and don't tell anyone about it. Maybe it's a small act, like holding the door open for someone, offering a genuine compliment, or helping a colleague without expecting anything in return. Do it. And then, let it go. The only reward you need is the good it does for them, and your soul. A truly good person helps because it's their duty, not their image. They serve others because it's the right thing to do, not because they expect anything in return. And that is the fourth indicator. Indicator 5, you face hard truths. Most people avoid this one. This is the hardest test of true goodness: can you handle the truth? We all like to think of ourselves as honest people. But honesty isn't just about telling others the truth, it's about facing the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. Let me tell you a story. There was once a person who had a habit of ignoring what was wrong in their life. Maybe it was their relationship, their work, or their health, something they knew they needed to change. But instead of facing it, they pretended it wasn't there. They ignored the signs. They lived in denial, telling themselves that everything was fine. For a while, this worked. But eventually, the truth became impossible to avoid. Their relationship fell apart, their health deteriorated, and their career stalled. All because they couldn't face what was right in front of them. This is where Stoicism steps in. The Stoics taught that the path to true wisdom, and true goodness, begins with self-honesty. They didn't sugarcoat reality. They didn't pretend the world was perfect. Marcus Aurelius would write in his journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." What this means is simple: the truth is the way forward. It's the key to growth. The longer you avoid it, the longer you stay stuck. Epictetus, too, emphasized the importance of self-awareness. He said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." If you can't face who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, then you'll never improve. You'll never grow. You'll never become truly good. So, here's your challenge: write down one uncomfortable truth about yourself. Maybe it's a behavior you need to change, a habit you need to break, or something you've been avoiding. Write it down. Be brutally honest with yourself. Don't hold back. Once you've written it, you've already taken the first step. Because facing the truth is always the hardest part. A truly good person does not shy away from the truth. They confront it, they learn from it, and they grow. And that is the fifth indicator. Indicator 6, you live by your principles, even when it's hard. It's easy to be good when things are easy. But what about when life tests you? True goodness is not about being virtuous when the sun is shining. It's about holding your principles when the storm hits. When everything around you is falling apart. When you're under pressure, overwhelmed, and tempted to cut corners, that's when you show who you truly are. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. At the height of his power, he wasn't just fighting battles on the battlefield, he was fighting battles within himself. He faced betrayal, the constant threat of war, and the suffering of his people. And yet, he stayed true to his Stoic principles. Even when the demands of leadership tested his resolve, he didn't give in to the temptation of personal gain or glory. He didn't abandon his values for convenience. One of his most famous quotes is, "A man is not good because he does good things, but because he does them for the right reasons." Marcus Aurelius didn't perform acts of virtue for recognition, or to ease his conscience. He lived by his principles, even when it was hard. He didn't let power or adversity make him compromise. This is a key Stoic lesson: goodness isn't about doing the right thing when it's easy. It's about doing the right thing when it's hard. When everything inside you says, "Take the easy way out," the Stoics would say, "That's when you show your true character." So here's the challenge for you: what value, principle, or belief are you unwilling to compromise on? Think about it. Is it honesty? Integrity? Kindness? The belief in justice? Write it down. Reflect on it. And then ask yourself, when was the last time I stayed true to this principle, even when it was hard? True goodness is not a fair-weather friend. It's the foundation that holds you up when the storm hits. And that is the sixth and final indicator. Now, let's go back to the very beginning. Are you a truly good person? The Stoics would say, you're not defined by what you think you are, but by what you consistently do. So, let's come full circle. Remember that question I asked you at the very beginning: are you truly a good person? Now, after exploring the 6 indicators of true goodness according to Stoicism, how do you feel about your answer? The Stoics believe that being good isn't a label you put on yourself, it's a practice. It's something you show through your actions, your decisions, and how you respond to the world around you. Here's your challenge: pick one of these 6 indicators and focus on it this week. Maybe it's practicing emotional control, prioritizing justice over popularity, facing hard truths, or living by your principles under pressure. Whatever it is, make it your goal to improve in that area this week. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 6 indicators do you think is the hardest? Which one do you struggle with the most? Comment below and share your thoughts. Remember, true goodness isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Every small step you take toward living by these principles will make you a better, stronger person. Thank you for watching. Now go out and be the good you want to see in the world.